The stars were quiet that night. The great Catharan Empire fleet floated in deep space, its ships glowing faintly against the black void. Commander Vorlak stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the scanners with calm confidence. For years, no one had dared to enter their territory. The galaxy feared the Catharans, but tonight felt different. A small red light blinked on the main screen. One of the officers turned, his voice shaking slightly. "Commander, we're picking up an unknown signal." Vorlak frowned. "Show me." The signal was faint but steady, repeating every few seconds in a strange pattern not from any known empire. The tone was sharp, cold, and unnatural. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't a trade beacon. It was something else. Then the lights across the bridge flickered. The sound of static filled the air. Systems began to fail one after another. The signal grew louder, turning into a pulse that echoed through every deck. "What kind of transmission is this?" Vorlak shouted. "No idea, sir. It's spreading through our systems." The commander's face hardened. "Find the source," and then in silence, the signal stopped. Everything went still. The crew held their breath. Out in the dark, something moved. A shadow, larger than any ship they had ever seen, appeared far beyond their scanners. The stars behind it vanished, swallowed by its size. Vorlak's voice fell to a whisper. "That's not one of ours." No one spoke again. The bridge was filled only with the sound of soft breathing and distant alarms. Every alien heart felt the same cold truth. Something ancient, powerful, and unknown had just entered their space. The silent signal had been heard. The void trembled as the shadow drew closer. Every ship in the Catharan fleet turned its scanners toward the unknown object, but the readings made no sense. The sensors showed mass levels beyond anything they had ever recorded. Energy output, off the charts. Commander Vorlak stared at the growing shape on the hollow screen. It wasn't just a ship. It was a fortress. Its surface gleamed with black metal, smooth and silent, reflecting the dim light of distant stars. Lines of blue and white energy ran across its hull, pulsing like veins of a living thing. "Identify it," Vorlak barked. "We can't, sir," the officer replied, his voice trembling. "Its technology is unclassified, not in any galactic record." The alien crew exchanged nervous glances. Even their most advanced scanners were useless. The object kept coming, steady, confident, unstoppable. Then, without warning, a deep hum filled the air. The alien ship's instruments flickered again, and every communication channel went dead. A soft, rhythmic pulse replaced all frequencies, slow, steady, and deliberate. "What is it doing?" another officer whispered. Vorlak's eyes narrowed. "It's announcing itself." The mysterious vessel stopped just beyond the fleet's perimeter. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then bright light burst from its underbelly, not an attack, but illumination. The full size of the craft became clear. It dwarfed even the largest Catharan dreadnought. Across the bridge, fear began to spread like fire. "Commander?" a voice whispered from the comm station. "Should we engage?" Vorlak didn't answer. His gaze remained locked on the massive warship now hovering before them, its silent presence more terrifying than any weapon. He finally spoke, voice low and shaken. "Prepare all ships. But don't fire. Not yet." Something told him they had just met something far beyond their understanding. The alien fleet held position, surrounding the dark giant in uneasy silence. No one dared to move first. Even space itself seemed to wait. The massive ship floated calmly, its lights glowing like distant storms trapped under metal skin. Then it happened. A sharp tone sliced through every communication channel at once. The alien bridge lights flickered, screens flashed white, and then a voice spoke. Calm, steady, human. "This is Commander Reyes of the United Nations warship Nemesis. You have entered restricted human space. Identify yourselves immediately or withdraw." Every alien froze. The words were clear, translated perfectly by their systems, though no translation software had been activated. The voice carried no anger, only power. It was a voice that knew it didn't need to shout. Vorlak clenched his fists. Humans, that primitive world. They dare to threaten us? He forced a laugh, but no one joined him. The crew only stared at the screen where a faint image of the Nemesis now appeared, a sleek black vessel covered in thousands of moving panels. "Commander," an officer said softly, They're locking onto us." The laughter died instantly. Energy readings spiked across every sensor. Hundreds of smaller dots appeared around the Nemesis. "Multiple launches detected," shouted another officer. On the outer view, dozens, no, hundreds, of smaller ships emerged from the giant's hangars. They moved in perfect formation, silent and precise, forming a defensive wall around their flagship. It wasn't a lone ship after all. It was the heart of a human fleet. Vorlak's breath caught in his throat. He whispered, "So the stories were true." For the first time in his long career, Commander Vorlak felt something he had never known before: fear. Commander Vorlak's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. Fear twisted into anger. He refused to believe these humans could challenge the Catharan Empire. They had conquered 100 worlds. How could one new species stand against them? "Charge the plasma cannons," he ordered, voice sharp and shaking. The bridge crew obeyed, hands moving fast, eyes wide. Across the fleet, hundreds of blue lights flared as ships locked weapons onto the human warship. "Target the vessel called Nemesis," Vorlak growled. "Let's teach them who rules this galaxy." Moments later, the darkness of space lit up. A storm of plasma torpedoes shot toward the human ship, leaving glowing trails across the void. The Catharans waited for the explosion, waited for the human ship to burn, but nothing happened. The torpedoes vanished a few kilometers before impact, dissolving like dust in sunlight. The sensors showed the energy simply gone. "What happened?" shouted an officer. "Their shields absorbed it," another replied, voice breaking. "It's like they ate the attack." Before anyone could react, a beam of white light burst from the Nemesis. It moved slowly, almost gently. No sound, no explosion, just a line of light cutting through the dark. One of the Catharan battleships split cleanly in half, silent and smooth, as if sliced by a god's hand. Everyone froze. Even the hum of the ship felt louder than breath. Vorlak stared at the wreckage drifting away, half his fleet dead in seconds. He could hear his heartbeat, slow and heavy. This can't be real," he whispered. "No weapon should do that." For the first time in his life, the mighty commander looked small, and somewhere in that silence, every alien on board finally understood. Attacking humanity had been a terrible mistake. The remains of the Catharan fleet drifted silently through space, their proud warships now glowing wrecks among the stars. The Nemesis did not chase them. It simply watched. Its dark hull gleamed like a shadow made of steel, unmoving, patient, unstoppable. On the Catharan bridge, the crew sat frozen. Systems were failing, smoke filled the air, and yet, the human ship had not finished them. It could have destroyed every one of them in seconds, but it didn't. That silence was worse than death. Then a transmission appeared across every frequency in the sector. It wasn't only for the Catharans, and it was for everyone. Every major empire, every trading outpost, every pirate signal heard it at once. The voice of Commander Reyes filled the galaxy. "This is humanity. We do not seek conquest. We do not desire your worlds or your wars. But if you bring destruction to our people, we will bring the end of yours." The words echoed across the stars like thunder through glass. Every leader who heard it paused. Every soldier who listened felt their hands tremble. The Catharan officers looked at one another, unable to speak. For the first time in their history, they knew what it felt like to stand beneath something greater. Vorlak bowed his head. "They could have ended us," he whispered, "but they chose to warn us instead." In distant star systems, alien fleets powered down their weapons. Treaties were rewritten. Even the most powerful empires began to whisper a single name in fear: humanity. And aboard the Nemesis, the human commander stood before the viewing glass. Watching the stars return to silence, he simply said, "Let them remember the message." The galaxy would never forget. Days passed, but the memory of that encounter refused to fade. Across the stars, whispers of the Nemesis spread faster than light. Every corner of the galaxy repeated the same chilling tale. A single human warship had faced an entire fleet and survived without a scratch. In the grand halls of alien empires, meetings were held in fear. Commanders who once bragged of domination now spoke in trembling voices. The name humanity carried weight, not as invaders but as a warning. In the Catharan capital, Commander Vorlak stood before his leaders, his pride shattered. "We thought them weak," he said quietly, "but they showed us mercy. That it was their greatest power." None dared to argue. The council remained silent, haunted by the vision of that dark ship and the voice that spoke across the stars. Meanwhile, aboard the Nemesis, the crew moved calmly through their routines. To them, it was just another patrol, another mission completed. But deep down, they knew what they had done had changed the galaxy forever. Commander Reyes stood by the viewing window, watching the endless field of stars. His reflection glowed faintly against the glass as he spoke to his first officer.